Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, and it's Retribution time. Yep, we're just gonna do it. This is, of course, Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also we primary rhinos and get them out and clean the house so we can move forward for freedom. If you get in the way, you will not be in the way. That's what we're going to be very clear with Representative Kustoff right now. Everything I'm going to show you, including his phone number, his website, his X account, is linked right down there in the description box for your leisure to do with what you please. Because this guy is the reason, or one of the reasons, that the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act, went from, hey, here's your rights removed from the NFA, to, hey, your rights are still behind a entrenched archaic system where we can regulate you, and if you don't have a piece of paper with your item, then you're going to go to pound me in the butt prison. But at least you don't have a $200 tax stamp. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Everything will be linked in the description box below, as I mentioned, and of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. The power that we have to correct these RINO issues comes directly from your subscriptions. You're the power that we wield, and with you guys fighting YouTube all the time, I deeply appreciate that. All right, guys, I need to hear you in the comments on this one. Jump on over to my X profile at Braden LOA, where we can continue this RINO Slam Fest, because the retribution is beginning. Now, the Hearing Protection Act was effectively neutered, as I just mentioned in the intro to this video. And speaking of rhinos, look who we have here, David Kustoff. Now, his phone number, his X account, and his website are all right down there in the description box. And please reach out and let them know in his office how displeased you are that they neutered it. Now, here's effectively what David Kustoff, representative from Tennessee, did. He said, well, the Senate was going to do bad things to this cute little Hearing Protection Act puppy. And so in order to prevent all the pain that the Senate was going to do to the gun right protection little cute puppy, I went ahead, tied it to a tree, and shot it so the Senate wouldn't do it. See, I'm 2A. Yeah, I'm going to walk you through this statement here in a second. But now comes a little promise. Right now, on this channel, you guys are hearing me say this, and I will be held to this account. I will guarantee as much free YouTube airtime to any Republican who primaries David Kustoff, because this guy is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Right here, the primarying will begin, and I will give free airtime to anyone who primaries him who has a true 2A belief, because this guy doesn't. All right, let's get into this. I've left his face up enough. Here's the actual statement. Representative David Kustoff, the guy who killed the HPA cute little puppy. I am committed to the fight for full removal of suppressors from the NFA, so I didn't put it in there. I added that part. As well as other long overdue reforms to unconstitutional restrictions on law-abiding gun owners. Okay, I'm going to read the statement in 1 second. The reason that this is so infuriating, to me particularly, is the fight that you guys do. You guys are underneath the boot of people like this. I mean, I know we share that, but you guys are the ones that took time out of your day to call. You're the ones that took time to care about the fight. You're the ones that took time to actually be invested enough to know what these people are doing to our rights. And this is like an example right here. And they step right on your head. And then they try to pee on your head and tell you that they're really 2A, you just don't understand. That's why in that the live last night, I got more negative than I like to. I don't like to be negative on this channel. But that's where the emotion's coming from, okay? Now, let's get into the statement. From David Kustoff. Incredible. I am a pro-gun Republican to my core. I have an A+ rating with the NSSF and an A rating with the NRA. At every turn, I'm going to fight for the Second Amendment rights of gun owners across America. Okay, here's a real-life example, kind of a correlation. You know, no dude's a cheater on his wife for his entire career, his entire marriage, until he cheats on her one time, and then all of a sudden he's a cheater. Yeah, you can go real good for 40 years, but right when you get to about 41 and you make that one big boo-boo, it turns out that you might just be a cheater. I mean, legitimately, this guy is trying to piss on your head, tell you it's raining because he's so pro-2A by NRA and NSSF, when he literally just killed that HPA puppy himself because he didn't want the Senate to do it, of which, by the way, he was wrong. I'll show you that too. During this next legislative battle, there are Second Amendment reforms to be made regarding suppressors. Unfortunately, the rules of the United States Senate caused serious obstacles for repealing suppressors from the NFA. That is incorrect, and I'm going to show you exactly what it is. That was the first call that we had with gun rights groups on the inside of this of, is it going to get past this? First, the answer was absolutely, and then we move forward. Okay. Given the risk of the Senate failing to expand gun rights, again, the Senate was going to be mean to the cute little dog when it grew up, so I shot it. I proposed policy that would eliminate the tax on suppressors. Republicans, tax cuts. Taking it from $200 to $0. This would be more than $1.5 billion in tax savings for gun owners over the next 10 years. You cannot blind us on this with the idea of a tax cut. Okay? He literally said right there, I proposed policy that would eliminate the tax on suppressors, which means he specifically got rid of the suppressors being removed from the NFA because he thought the rules of the Senate were going to prevent it, which I'm about to show you he is wrong. He's saying it. He owns it. Free airtime to any primary challenger. I am committed to the fight for full repeal under the NFA. Seems like this was a pretty good opportunity to do that. As well as other long overdue reforms to unconstitutional restrictions on law-abiding gun owners, Congressman David Kustoff, Tennessee 08. And Tennessee, if you live in District 08, get ready for the primary machine. Again, you get free advertising from me. This guy literally just told you that he's so pro-2A and so pro-suppressor and so pro-freedom that he killed freedom and killed the suppressor because, it would save you in taxes. This is the equivalent to kissing your sister. Well, we were going to take the NFA and gut it with SBRs and suppressors and take them out completely because they're budgetary items, and it would have been removed because it's a budget item in reconciliation. So because that was so problematic, I kept it in there and saved you $200, of which, by the way, a later administration can come back in and add it right back in through reconciliation. They're pissing on you, telling you it's raining. Anyway, let's continue. This is Gun Owners of America. They're holding nothing back. Lies. This congressman is compromising your rights away and defending the National Firearms Act of 1934. If Representative David Kustoff were committed to the fight for full repeal, he would be working with GOA to insert suppressors, SBRs, SBSs, and AOW deregulation into this bill. Yep, he would. He's not. Eric Pratt, in case anyone is wondering, Representative David Kustoff's office number is 202-225-4714. It is linked in the description for your review. Do with that what you will. It would be a shame if every single subscriber called him. And here's what I said. This is in response to something that Tim said from Military Arms. The tax is only part of the problem. The actual problem is having to get permission to exercise your rights. That's not how this is supposed to work. Now, he's referring to a Bearing Arms article. He's absolutely correct. Exactly right. It's not about the tax. It's about the mandates that ask for it. Now, let me get into the Byrd Rule, because this is what his whole argument is. The Byrd Rule is a Senate rule that says non-budgetary items can't go into budget bills. Therefore, it would have been removed from reconciliation, which is what they were going to pass, which is, again, why the secrecy, because gun controllers watch this channel. The Byrd Rule, also known as the Byrd Amendment, is a procedural rule in the United States Senate that limits what can be included in reconciliation bills. It prevents the inclusion of extraneous policy changes that are not directly related to budget. And here's where it all falls apart. It is related to budget because the NFA is a tax on your rights. That's exactly related to budget because the NFA is a tax that is directly correlated to budget. The argument that it would have been removed because of the Byrd Rule is a lie. Let's continue here. The Secretary of the Senate, this is where the Senate parliamentarian resides. The Senate parliamentarian is the person who does all the rules. Okay, that's it. They're saying, or his argument is, the Senate parliamentarian would have removed it using the Byrd Rule and we would have been nowhere. That's completely false. Completely. And now, this is a really good way to wrap this up. This is from Costas Moros. Sounds like the bill will keep registration but lower the tax to $0. The whole point of NFA, ostensibly, was as a tax measure. So if there's no tax, that pretext to require the paperwork makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. And one thing that I'll tell you, the angle of, well, we removed the tax, so no, there's no reason for registration, that will not nullify the NFA because they will still say we need registration for safety. That's what they will say. It is not anything other than they just want it in place for control. And it's quite obvious. This was the chance to get it put in there and then make the Senate remove it even though they weren't going to. But instead, Representative Kustoff decided to kill the puppy before it became an old dog where it would get in a fight with a bear. That's effectively where we sit on this. Free primary time for anybody who's in his district, Tennessee 08. That's what I can do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.